Texas, the land of wide-open skies, booming cities, and the promise of opportunity. For millions, it's the symbol of grit, independence, and a better future. People imagine cowboy hats, oil money, barbecue smoke drifting through the air, and stadiums roaring with Friday night football. But just beyond the postcard views, there's another Texas most people will never see. A Texas where the same sun that warms weekend barbecues burns down on cracked concrete, and where the smell of smoked brisket is replaced by the stench of trash piles and stale alcohol. In this Texas, the laughter from tourist-filled restaurants fades into the sound of coughing, arguing, and shuffling footsteps on worn-out shoes. Here, sidewalks aren't just walkways. They're bedrooms, kitchens, and sometimes the last place someone ever sleeps. There's no room for small talk, no time for planning tomorrow. Every minute is consumed by the simple question of how to survive the day. And if you think you know Texas, stay tuned, because the truth is far darker, far stranger, and far more urgent than you've been told. In the last few years, homelessness in Texas hasn't just grown. It's exploded into a crisis you can't walk past without noticing. Official state counts place the number of people experiencing homelessness at over 27,000. But those who work in outreach know the real number is much higher. Countless men, women, and children are hidden in abandoned motels, cars parked out of sight, or couch hopping from one friend's living room to the next. They never make it into the statistics, but they are just as homeless as the people sleeping under bridges. Austin alone has seen an 18% increase in just 3 years, pushing the total over 3,000. Houston? More than 4,000 people sleep outside every single night, a 15% rise since 2022. And these spikes are happening against a backdrop of booming development. Luxury condos rise in the same neighborhoods where tents multiply along the sidewalks. Texas isn't just dealing with a housing shortage, it's dealing with a growing population being left out entirely. The numbers might shock you, but they're just the beginning. The stories behind those numbers, the lives lived in the margins, are where the real weight of this crisis hits. In Texas, it's not just bad luck or personal mistakes that push people into homelessness. It's math. Cold, unforgiving math. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Austin has climbed to $1,800 a month, while the minimum wage remains frozen at $7.25 an hour, exactly where it's been for over a decade. For someone working full-time at minimum wage, more than 60% of every paycheck vanishes into rent, and that's before food, transportation, or medical bills. Maria, a 28-year-old in Dallas, thought she could beat the system by sheer willpower. She took on 2 jobs, sleeping only a few hours a night, juggling shifts in a diner and a cleaning service. But one unexpected expense, a car repair, set off a chain reaction. One missed payment, and her landlord had the locks changed before she could even clear her things out. "Now I'm saving every dollar for a bus ticket to see my family," she told me quietly. "They're all I have left." Maria's story isn't unusual. In a state where wages and housing costs are worlds apart, all it takes is one slip to fall completely through the cracks. And once you're out here, the battle changes completely. Imagine living with no lock on your door, because you don't have a door. Imagine waking up to the sound of traffic rushing past your head, or strangers stepping over you on their way to work. Privacy doesn't exist. Safety doesn't exist. Weeks can pass without a shower, your skin gritty from dust and sweat, your clothes stiff from days of wear. Even finding a safe place to close your eyes at night becomes a gamble. Encampments grow wherever there's a sliver of space, under overpasses, in vacant lots, along busy sidewalks. Plastic tarps and thin tents flap in the wind, offering little protection from the cold rain or blistering heat. People sleep surrounded by shopping carts and battered backpacks, guarding what little they still own. And for some, survival means making choices they never thought they'd face. Choices that chip away at dignity until it feels like there's nothing left to lose. And in this environment, another trap waits for those already struggling. When the hunger, cold, and hopelessness get too heavy, many turn to something, anything, that makes the weight feel lighter, if only for a few hours. State data shows 38% of homeless Texans battle dependency on substances like meth and opioids. On the street, these aren't hidden away. They're used in plain sight, in parks and alleys, in full daylight, because there's nowhere else to go. The goal isn't to party, it's to numb. Lisa, a 40-year-old in Houston, told me she never thought she'd end up here. I started using to forget the pain. Out here, it's everywhere, she said, her voice trembling. Against the odds, she's been clean for 2 months, thanks to a rare recovery program that gave her a chance when no one else would. But Lisa's story is the exception, not the rule. For most, those programs are overcrowded, underfunded, and impossible to access. And when there's no help, people look for other ways to survive, ways that can be even more dangerous. In the absence of safe housing, some are forced into situations they never imagined, trading their bodies for a place to sleep, a hot meal, or the means to make it through another day. The Texas Homeless Network reports that 1 in 4 homeless women in the state have experienced some form of exploitation. These aren't calculated choices. They're acts of desperation in a system with no safety net. Emily, a 29-year-old in Austin, kept her eyes down as she spoke. "I never thought I'd be here," she said softly. "I've done things I'm not proud of just to eat." Last week, a shelter finally took her in, and for the first time in months, she feels like she might have a way out. But until there are enough safe spaces, this cycle will keep repeating, trapping more people in an endless loop of vulnerability. And while this devastation is most visible on the street, its effects ripple far beyond. Homelessness doesn't happen in isolation. Entire neighborhoods absorb the impact. Downtown Houston businesses say foot traffic has dropped 15% in just 3 years, as shoppers and diners avoid areas where encampments have grown. In Austin and Dallas, tourism, a key driver of the local economy, is slowing as visitors hesitate to explore. Cities are spending millions on emergency cleanups, medical calls, and law enforcement responses, diverting money away from long-term solutions. Meanwhile, families walking downtown often shield their children's eyes from the scenes unfolding just feet away, unsure how to explain what they're seeing. The result is a widening divide, those with homes looking away, and those without feeling invisible. And while officials debate solutions, some policies make things worse instead of better. Texas faces a shortage of over 600,000 affordable housing units, a gap so massive that even aggressive building plans won't close it fast enough. Waitlists for subsidized housing can stretch up to 3 years, leaving families in limbo. At the same time, laws that penalize sleeping in public spaces force people to hide in even more dangerous areas, under bridges, in abandoned buildings, on the edge of highways. Karen, a mother in San Antonio, has been on a housing waitlist for 2 years. "My son deserves better than this," she said, holding him close. "But I feel like the system doesn't care." While some cities, like Houston, have pledged to build thousands of new affordable units, the pace is painfully slow. And every day of delay means more families pushed onto the street, their dreams of stability slipping further away. This crisis isn't unsolvable. Immediate relief can save lives. More temporary shelters, mobile medical units, and guaranteed daily meals. In Dallas, outreach programs have already helped over 1,000 people get into housing in just 1 year. These are lifelines, but they need to be scaled up statewide. Long-term, Texas must commit to building more affordable units, subsidizing rent for low-income families, and expanding mental health and recovery programs. Studies show 85% of people who complete structured recovery remain stable after 2 years. The solutions exist. What's missing is the will to fully fund and prioritize them. The streets of Texas are telling a story, one of resilience, loss, and survival against impossible odds. The ending isn't written yet. Whether it becomes a story of recovery or one of continued decline depends on whether Texas chooses to see these people as strangers or as neighbors who deserve a chance.